Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have a walkthrough video showing you how to paint a miniature from start to finish. On the first step we've primed in black and we are going to dry brush with a white Vallejo. This is going to bring out the details that we can later then apply the other paints to. Don't overload your paintbrush with the white. Dab it off on some tea towel and then basically go for a really rough area on your model and start dry brushing. And as you can see, it's leaving quite a good coverage, which is what we're looking for. Today's mini we're painting is from Games Worshop, Age of Sigmar, and it's a Caradon Overlord, and this is the Admiral. Now once this white base is dry brushed on, we're going to move on to the base coat of the minis, which I've decided to do in metallic. And our first base colour is Retributor Armour. As you can see, I've applied it to a fidget popper palette, and then I'm watering it down with a slightly bit of water to get like a creamy consistency. This works for me with metallics and gives a really good coverage. The brush I'm using is just a normal Citadel. I think it's a small. It's not ultra fine, but this is what I use for base coating and applying any shades. And I'm just basically covering the mini in all the metallics that I want in Retributor Armour. So this hobby is very relaxing, and I find that if I've had a stressful day at work, pop up to my craft room and paint for a couple of hours really chills me out. Don't be afraid to have a go. And when we're applying this base coat, you don't have to worry about it being precise. Because what we can do at a later time is go over the areas and tidy them up with a fine brush detail. And this is my first YouTube video. I'm going to tend to waffle on because I don't really know what to say at these points. Just a case of watching along. Now you can see we're moving on to the next metallic colour, which is Lead Belcher. Now at the moment I'm using Citadel paints, but there is a wide variety of paints there on the market, so it's up to you which ones you would like to try. But I do particularly like Lead Belcher. It's a very good base colour, and once you obviously shade over with null oil, makes it look like a really dirty metal colour. So that looks as though the models have obviously been out in war and a very metal one. So basically now we're just picking out the areas what we want to be more of a silver finish. Same again, you don't have to be as precise as we can go over later and tidy up all the areas with a fine brush. Now I'm applying the Vallejo white to the backpack area and also to the eye socket. This later will become a light effect with a striking blue. Then on my wet palette there, you can see I have Nagaroth Night. This is the purple we're going to apply to the neck pad area. I wanted to give it a blast of colour to break up the metallics, but also this miniature is painted pretty similar to the box art. I do like to copy box art colours, but also don't be afraid to try your own recipes. Any mistakes can be stripped and repainted. But that's what this hobby is all about, trial, error, and just enjoyment. Now I'm just making sure that I've got areas covered before I move on to the next base, which I do believe will be the weapons. Now I was deciding how to approach the weapons and decided that they would be both Retributor armour and Lead Belcher. Now you can see that I'm painting highlight areas, and this is with Auric Armour Gold, and the silver areas are obviously Storm Host Silver. And we're just going to do the very tops where you think the light would touch the model and make it stand out. What I forgot to mention here is I lost my footage of applying the shades, which I did all over the model. So for the gold, I used Reikland Flesh Shade, and the silvers I used Null Oil, and the purple at the back there, I shaded it with Druchii Violet. This gets into the deep recesses that then allows me to come along with the next highlight and make those top edges stand out. As you can see, it's all been highlighted there and it's looking pretty shiny. But you can also see the details where the shade is stuck into the recesses. Next, I'm applying Abaddon Black to the pipes and basic other details. And we're going to be giving this model the final finishing touches. As you can see, I'm obviously swapped now to a 0 size paintbrush. This is a new one for me. I'm trying out a new, more expensive paintbrush, a Klawinski brush. That's a natural hair brush. It'll obviously take a little bit more looking after. So I would tend not to use this brush with metallics because of the metallic elements in the paint sticking into the bristles. What I would do for the metallics is just pick up a cheap 0 to a 00 brush and use that for your metallics and keep that one as your metallic brush. So a little bit about myself. I am actually self-taught. I did art at school. As I grew older, I got into different crafts, knitting, crochet, drawing, painting, colouring, and only about a couple of years ago, I got into miniature painting. I don't know any of the laws with Warhammer. I just like the look of the models and I display them at home. The first model I ever did paint was an anime garage kit. So that was a lot bigger model. So then I decided to try the Warhammer. I don't truly stick to miniatures. I do busts, figures, and recently I've acquired a 3D printer, so there will be some 3D prints being shown on this channel. Now the gloves, his hands. So basically, I'm going to base coat in Screaming Skull, shade in Reikland Flesh Shade, and then re-highlight with Screaming Skull to the top edges. So we are basically coming towards the end of the video, and it's me just basically highlighting at the moment the eyes. We're going to base them in Lothian blue, and then we're going to add some white to the Lothian blue and highlight the area. So that's obviously the eye and the backpack. Then move on to highlighting the neck brace at the back, the purple, And that highlight will be Genestealer Purple. Now these paints I'm using today are all Citadel paints, apart from the white, which I prefer Vallejo white. The coverage I find is a lot better than any of the Citadel whites. To me, the whites on the Citadels look chalky when finished. That's my opinion, obviously. So here we go. We're just going to highlight the very top there. The little buttons, the very edge, and a little tiny hint in between the cushioning. We're trying to create, obviously, a different contrast to where the light is hitting the model. And today this is a very basic paint, and you can use this as tabletop straight onto your wargaming if you play Warhammer, or it will look pretty nice on display. You could also highlight it further by lightening up this highlight to another highlight. So now, here we go with that final blue highlight to the eye. And backpack area. It's basically looked like some sort of power source. As from what I can make out, these are pretty much space. Marines with a steampunky vibe. Well, that's my opinion, please don't. If I've got that wrong, I do apologise. So this is where obviously I'm going to shade the gloves now. Sorry if this video is all over the place with my talking. Obviously I waffle quite a bit, so if waffling isn't for you, then maybe this video isn't for you. Mute me and just watch along. At any point you want to follow along and paint this model, you can obviously pause the video, paint the areas I have, restart the video and paint along. Give it a go. You might actually enjoy a new hobby. So now I've decided I'm going to do the base. So we're just going to do a general base coat with Eshian grey. I'm obviously applying it to the palette, adding enough water to make it a creamy consistency, and now we go to paint it. Sorry about that. And I'm just using an old artist brush. I think it probably cost me £1 from a craft shop. I'm just going to paint up the base there. As you can see, I'm not being exactly neat and tidy, because that will be corrected at the end when we do the final edging. I wanted something dark, rustic, stone-like concrete, just to really make those metallics of the model pop. This army is going to be a very metallic army. Now you can see I'm applying null oil over the top so that it grabs into those recesses, ready for the next base colour. Obviously wait anything up to 15 to 20 minutes for this null oil to dry on the base before applying the next colour. There we go. We are now using Dawnstone, and we're just going to basically dot some places there on the rocks just to highlight them up. Now null oil is very shiny, so obviously it looks quite shiny on camera, but that is dry. You could actually apply the Dawnstone over wet null oil and get a more blended look. I'm adding it to the base there as well, just in dots, and then I'm going to wet blend Asian grey into it and just give it that more, not a flat look, a more blended mismatch concrete effect. As you can see, I'm applying quite a lot of water there, make that paint runny to give that effect. Now obviously doing the bases is the final touch, and I think finishes the model off really well. You can actually buy clear bases, so if you have got a gaming table with details, you could apply these models to a clear base and you'd obviously see the terrain underneath. So I wanted to add a little bit of foliage here. Very desolate looking foliage. I'm using super glue. They are actually self-adhesive, but I find that adding a dab of super glue to it really makes it stick. Then we're going to apply a black edging to the base, and the model will be a tabletop ready complete model. This obviously is my first video. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you want to see more videos from me, click subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you again soon with the next video. So there we go, all finished. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video. Bye.